Now, welcome to another Let's Watch Some Star Wars. This time it is the 8th episode of Andor Season 2, titled Who Are You? And once again, I am going to fire up the episode, I'm going to rewatch it, and I'll pause at certain points, tell you what I like, tell you what I don't like, or whatever pops into my head. And so, let's jump right on in. So the episode opens up on Gorman. We see Cassian assembling his rifle. He's here to take out Dedra. And while he's doing that, we see that the Imperials are moving the barricades out of the plaza, or so it seems. It looks like they're opening up the plaza, all the while fortifying their position within the plaza. And this, of course, is meant to be sort of bait or a trap. They want the people of Gorman to come on into the plaza and to protest, and so things can go wrong. And boy, are things ever about to go wrong. Next up, Dedra and Partagaz have a little conversation where we learn that the Imperials are already landing mining equipment on the planet, and Dedra is a little concerned, but Partagaz is like, hey, the only story now is the resistance of the Gormans to the Imperial norms. That they are the ones causing the problems, and we've even heard in some of these news reports that we keep getting kind of out of the planet in the background, that this is the issue, that the Empire is trying to resolve this peacefully, but for some unknown reason, the Gorman people just keep refusing to cooperate. They are refusing to, again, adhere to the Imperial norms. He then finishes by saying, our struggles with the Gorman are well documented at this point. Again, the media has been covering it. Everybody has been painting the picture as the Gormans being the problem. So that way, when this finally explodes, and again, it is about to explode, it's going to look like the Gormans are simply terrorists who just could not get along for some unknown reason. We then see the Gorman resistance getting ready. They now have plenty of weapons, as the Empire wanted. We get some more news broadcasts, and we see on the other side of the galaxy, back on Coruscant, there is Edie Karn watching rather nervously. She knows her son is there. And I love that we can see the spider that he brought back to her last time, the spider that she named Syril, and we just get to see her concern for her son. We know she loves her son, she just has a really, really weird way of showing it. Or never showing it. Syril is then told at home that comms are down and he is to report to the IOC building, the fortress that they're building, essentially. We then see the Gorman people start to march, and they are heading to, of course, the plaza that has been opened up. And that is when Carl Rylands puts it together that this is a trap, that they want the people in the plaza, they want them protesting, that this has been the plan all along. And his daughter is like, well, what are we supposed to do? Are we not supposed to fight? We're just supposed to lie down and take this? And, I mean, they're both right is the problem here. Caro knows it's a trap and it's going to go wrong, but it's not like the Gorman people, especially considering we know the Empire is going to do what they're going to do no matter what. But it's not like they can just lay down and do nothing. They have to fight for their homeland. They have to try to do something instead of just dying. It's just oh so tragic because we know there's literally nothing they can do to win this fight. If they fight, they lose. If they don't fight, they lose. It's, of course, a no-win scenario here. We then see Carl Rylands confronting Syril in the streets, and he's mad. Carl is mad that he's even walking among them because he is the one who set the trap. He is the one that led them into this trap. There are rumors and reports of, again, mining equipment being landed, and Carl is like, what is in the ground? What are you here to steal? And Syril, of course, has no idea. He's telling the truth when he's like, I'm only here to bring in outside agitators. That's what I was sent to do. And of course, Caro doesn't believe him. And he's like, what kind of being are you? What kind of person does this? Condemns an entire planet to destruction, essentially. Though I don't know that Caro knows exactly how far it's about to go. But he's calling him a monster. He's calling him subhuman, that he would set up an entire population of people, an entire planet, basically, to walk into a trap so that the Empire can just take whatever they want, take this material that's in the ground. Again, they have no idea what they even have. It's so tragic, and yet Syril doesn't even know the extent of everything. He's figuring it out, but he has no idea just how bad it's about to go, and that, yes, he was kind of the main linchpin in the whole thing here. The part he played was the part that agitated the resistance and set them up to fall into this trap. And speaking of monsters, we then have a quick little scene, and lots of quick scenes. This episode moves really fast. But we have Captain Kaido and we have Dedra, two monsters, certainly. And after the captain is done sort of surveying the plaza and seeing all the resistance, or all the Gorman people, they're not all resistance, but pouring into the plaza, Dedra asks him everything as you wanted, and his response to that is, I just want a comfortable ride home, which is just the coldest thing you can say when you think about it, because what he is actually saying is, I'm just here to do my mission. I don't care about these people. I'm going to do what I was assigned to do. That's it. And then I want to go home and move on to the next thing. That is then followed by a quick exchange between the bellhop, who remembered Cassian from last time and didn't check him in this time. And Cassian is like, hey, I hope everything works out for you, which is a simple way of saying, God, I hope your planet doesn't just go to hell here, and that you survive whatever is about to happen next. And the bellhop simply says, rebellions are built on hope, which is a line most of you are probably going to remember from Rogue One. Cassian says it to Jyn at one point, and then Jyn later on says it as well. We then see both Syril and Cassian walking through the crowd. They pass right by each other at one point, and both are really starting to put together that something pretty big is about to happen, and we, the audience, can feel the tension as well. The music here, the score here is perfect. It is very ominous. It is building up to an explosion. While you're sitting there and watching it, you're bracing yourself because you know things are going to go bad, and the only question is just how bad are they going to be? While Cassian is looking for a position to take his shot at Dedra, we see Syril make his way to the IOC building, and that is where he sees a reporter, and I think this is where the final piece of the puzzle falls into place for him. He hears the reporter talking about the Empire has now done everything they can, but these rumors, these crazy rumors, have been spreading about mining equipment landing or something. And so the people of Gorman have now gathered. They have formed this hostile insurrection in the plaza. And again, this is the moment where Syril realizes just how bad that this all is. That this has all indeed been a setup, as Rylance was just telling him moments ago. And he is realizing he played a really, really big part in that setup. Syril is then escorted into a safe room of sorts where there are 6 KX security enforcer droids in there. Just when you thought this was bad, it is going to be even worse. And at one point, Syril kind of makes eye contact with one of these droids, which is just kind of a creepy scene because you kind of wonder what that droid is thinking. Is that K2SO perhaps? Is his original programming all excited to go out into that crowd and to start tossing people around? Moving right along, Captain Kaido gives the order to close off the plaza to block the exits, and stormtroopers come rolling in and take up position. He then tells the sergeant that, hey, we need a path to the monument, so send your group out on patrol. And the sergeant is like, they're green, they're useless. And Captain Kaido is like, I see Imperial uniforms. Send them out there and do their job, or you get to spend the rest of your life in a brig. And so the sergeant begrudgingly agrees and takes this very green new unit of troopers out into the crowd, where of course they are going to panic at the first sign of a problem, which is about to happen. However, before any of that can happen, Lazine, who made a pretty epic speech in the previous episode about how if we keep fighting each other, if we lose sight of who we are as Gormans, we have already lost the battle because there's nothing worth saving, he begins to sing their national anthem. And slowly but surely, others begin to sing until pretty much the whole crowd is singing. And I think this is just his way of kind of trying to calm people down, reminding them of why they're actually here. They're not here to just fight, they're here to be Gormans and to stand up against the Empire. We then see Syril confront Dedra, and he is pissed. He wants to know what exactly are they doing here and how long have you known about it? How long have you been lying to me about why the Empire is really here? And Dedra is like, it comes from the Emperor himself. There's something in the ground that the Empire needs, and that's it. We're following orders, and we get to go home as heroes, so who cares? We will get to be together on Coruscant, and we get to live happily ever after, and she seems like she's pretty okay with that. I think she's going to be okay. I'm not saying she necessarily likes doing this sort of thing. I think there is a part of her that is not happy about having to commit genocide. But I do think she can live with it, but Syril cannot. Syril actually thought he was doing good for the Empire. He thought he was here to, again, bring in outside agitators and stop the rebellion because he believed in the Empire, but now he is beginning to understand just how bad the Empire is, and he's beginning to understand how bad the woman he fell in love with really is, that she is just a monster, and that he has been helping a monster, and that he himself is pretty much a monster given his place and part in this operation. It's such a hard scene to watch because you genuinely feel bad for Syril because he's just a guy who wants to fit in somewhere and do the right thing. He's not necessarily like a bad person. If we go back to the beginning of all of this for him, he was trying to solve a murder. Two guards got murdered, two security guards essentially got murdered, and nobody seemed to care. And he's like, I'm going to find this murderer. I'm going to do the right thing even if nobody else cares or wants me to. And that is who he is, a guy who just wants to do the right thing. He wants to find a place and belonging, and he found all of that with Dedra and the Empire. And that's why she kind of throws it in his face that, hey, you didn't mind the promotions either. You liked what we were doing here. You weren't really putting it together. You didn't care that much. And that was like a gut punch because, yeah, he did like the promotions. He did like feeling like he belonged and was doing something important. He just didn't realize he was doing it for the wrong side. And when he does, he's ready to get out. But she's like, I don't care. We're going to go home. We're getting more promotions. Everything's going to be fine. Then Partagaz gets a hold of Dedra, and though we don't hear the conversation, we can assume he's basically telling her to go ahead with the operation. She then gives the order to the captain, and he says to open fire. And the really tragic part here is with the Gormans now just kind of singing their national anthem and being relatively peaceful, you could say. I think if the Empire doesn't agitate the situation, if they don't send the patrol into the crowd, and then, of course, just kind of opening fire and shooting one of their own guys and then making them react, and all of that, I think this just ends peacefully. I think the Gore collectively, whether they were conscious of it or not, had kind of decided that they weren't going to fight today. They were going to take the peaceful option. They were going to sing their national anthem. They were going to protest and then go home, and, well, who knows what happens next again. We talked before about eventually you're going to have to do something, because the Empire is never going to let you just live normally ever again. But it's tragic because this would have ended peacefully if not for the sniper on the roof shooting one of the Imperials, one of the patrol, in the head, and then of course that just sets everything off. It's then just a chaotic battle scene, a tense one, because we've gotten to know some of these Gorman resistance members. We kind of care about them, right? We care about their plight. We feel horrible about how they have been completely set up and they have been painted as the bad guys, even though they just want to go up with their lives. They just want to live peacefully. They never wanted any of this, but they happen to have a valuable resource in the ground that the Empire needs, so here they are. And the battle scene is all around very well done. It feels very visceral. You feel like you're in the middle of this, again, kind of chaotic scene. You're holding your breath. You're not sure who's going to live, who's going to die, what's going to happen next. And then what happens next is they decide to release the KX droids, the Enforcer droids. And this is one of the most brutal things I have ever seen in Star Wars, when they are literally just crushing people and throwing them around, and wow. It is, again, some of the most brutal Star Wars I have ever seen, because a lot of these people are just innocent civilians, right? They came here to protest. Not all of them had guns, and not all of them had the intent to fight. I dare say most of them are just here peacefully, who were hoping this would not end in bloodshed or a massacre. They're just here to say, hey, we're Gorman. We want the galaxy to see us and know what's going on. And then it turns into a bloodbath. Again, it turns into a massacre, and people are just getting chucked around and shot. And it's hard to watch and so perfectly done at the same time. And then there's Syril, coming to the full realization of what he has done, what he has been a part of, and what the Empire truly is, what he has been serving so faithfully all this time. It's heart-wrenching, and there's a part of you that wants Syril to pick up a gun and just start shooting the Imperials and to join the rebellion in the spur of the moment here, and to go on to be a hero of the rebellion someday, perhaps. You're really rooting for him, or at least I am rooting for him. This character from beginning to end has been exceptionally done, I think. Here is a guy who, again, just wants to be a part of something. He just wants to belong somewhere. He wants to do good and to do the right thing. And he's fooled by the Empire and by his girlfriend, and he ends up playing a critical role in a massacre. He is watching the end result of everything that he has been working towards. And again, it's so sad for him, and it goes back to something that is in the opening crawl of Revenge of the Sith, I think, that there are heroes on both sides, which doesn't necessarily mean that Syril is a hero, I'm not saying that, but that both sides have a story. That, much like Krennic said, one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter, and here the Gormans are being painted as terrorists, even though they are clearly freedom fighters against the Empire. And Syril didn't really fully understand that until right now. He didn't understand that there were heroes on the other side. And then as all of this is occurring to him, as all of this rage and hatred and guilt is probably building towards himself for being a part of this, again, even if he didn't know what was eventually going to happen, he then sees Cassian, the guy he can put all of that rage and anger and hatred towards because he is the guy that set him down this path. And so, of course, he just savagely attacks him. Eventually, Syril is going to get the upper hand. He's going to have him at blaster point, and that is when Cassian says, "Who are you?" Because, no, Cassian does not know who the hell this guy is, and he can pretty much figure out by the way he is attacking him that he is personally attacking him for some reason. And Syril begins to lower the gun because here is the guy I have been hunting, the guy who sent me down this path again, and he doesn't even have the first clue who I am. This thing I've been chasing for so long doesn't know I exist. And then while he is thinking all that, his thinking comes to an end as he's shot in the head by Rylance, who kind of gets his revenge, you could say. He shoots the guy who he knows is responsible for all of this. Furthermore, that question of who are you really resonates with Syril right now because it goes back to what Rylance actually said to him earlier. Like, what kind of being does this? Who are you? What are you? What kind of monster are you? And he's questioning that right now. I think he's questioning, like, am I just a terrible person because of everything I've done? Or is this guy that I'm about to kill actually the terrible person? Or are we both at fault? I think there's so many things you could take away from this scene. So many things that could be and probably are running through his mind, again, before his mind is silenced, you could say. Furthermore, I love the way Cassian kind of stares at Syril after the fight. He's trying to figure out who the hell this guy is. He really wants to know why this guy had something so personal against him. I mean, clearly, by the way Syril was attacking him so savagely, he knew it was personal. He knew this was somebody who was trying to kill him in particular and for a very specific reason. And he, for the life of him, can't figure it out. Even though, yes, he did very briefly see him at one point. Back in the first story arc of Season 1, back on Ferrix, Cassian had him at gunpoint. And at that time, Luthen was like, just kill him. We don't want to leave this guy alive. Just kill him. But of course, Cassian didn't, and well, here we are all these years later. We then also see Dedra sort of surveilling the battlefield, probably looking to see if she can somehow see Syril in the chaos there, because I think she really does care about him. I think she's really worried about him. I think she probably loved him. Maybe loved him for sort of the wrong reasons. Maybe she wasn't necessarily in love with him, who Syril was, but she loved the idea of Syril. She loved what he provided for her, that she had somebody or something that cared about her, the person. But moving on, we then see Wilmon and Cassian trying to escape the city. They're fleeing, and Wilmon sees another resistance member that he recognizes and is like, "Where's Drina? I can't leave without my girlfriend." And Cassian is like, "Man, you gotta just leave her behind. We gotta get out of here." But he's like, "Nope, I'm going back for her." And this is an interesting sort of parallel, isn't it, to Dedra and Syril, where Dedra is looking for her boyfriend, and now he is going to go back and actively try to find his girlfriend here. Just an interesting juxtaposition here about love in the middle of chaos, in the middle of battle, in the middle of war, which even Tony Gilroy has kind of said this show is kind of all about. Then a KX droid shows up, and again, just carnage when these things are around. It starts even running, which is just kind of terrifying. It's throwing people everywhere, and it finally sets its sights on Cassian. And just when we think it's going to get Cassian, even though we know it can't, an armored tank vehicle comes out of nowhere and crashes it into the wall and destroys it, and it turns out to be the guy who accidentally killed Bix in the last story arc. He gets to, in a way, make up for what he has done before. That weight of accidentally killing her that Val said he was going to carry for the rest of his life is maybe alleviated just a little bit here. Cassian then again tries to urge Wilmon to come with him, but Wilmon is like, "Nope, I am going back for her." I like that he then says Ferrix, and Cassian responds Stone and Sky, remembering where they came from, remembering what kind of got them into this in the first place, or especially Wilmon. Then they help Cassian load up the destroyed KX droid, which obviously is going to become K2SO, and they're on their way. We then get to hear the heartbreaking plea for help being sent out by Drina with the radio, asking for anybody, begging for anybody who hears this message to help or to at least pass it forward, to let people know what has happened here, that Gorman has been destroyed by the Empire, that people are laying dead in the streets. It is, again, heart-wrenching. The score here is just perfect. It is one of the most emotional moments, I think, in the history of Star Wars, which is saying something. It is just hauntingly beautiful. Along with this, we then see Dedra sort of having a nervous breakdown. She's realizing that this has cost her Syril, that one thing, that one person who really loved her, and that, again, maybe she loved too. And even though we know how horrible of a person she is, the horrible things that she has done, that she was complicit in this atrocity, we still feel for her because she's a human, we're human, and you make that connection whether you like it or not, I think. I don't know, again, maybe that's just me, but I feel bad for her, even though I really probably shouldn't. She kind of deserves every horrible thing that comes her way, and yet again, that human connection still makes you feel something here, something for an Imperial. Either way, I love how she fights to put herself back together, that she straightens her uniform, she stands up again, and she owns it, essentially. She's like, I am an Imperial, I did my job, and back to work I go. Though I am very curious what becomes of her in this final story arc. Has this really changed her? Is she, I don't know, going to side with the rebellion? Something tells me probably unlikely. But who knows what this has done? Who knows what ultimately becomes of her? Maybe she gets a tragic ending that, again, she perhaps deserves after all she's done. Or maybe she becomes a sort of hero. Maybe she does go to the rebellion and plays a huge part in it and begins to atone for what she has done here. The episode then ends with Edie Karn in tears, Syril's mother in tears, either because she knows her son is dead, that she has gotten that information already, or she just kind of assumes that she hasn't heard anything from him. Either way, also heartbreaking because we know Edie is not the best mother, but we also know that, yes, she does love her son, and she's never going to get a chance to really tell him that. She's not going to be able to make up for all the hell that she's put him through over the years. And we feel bad for her, again, because of that human connection. Because all of these characters in this show feel like real people. Even the monsters, which is frightening, but even the monsters feel real to us. That's what I love about this show. I might not want to be like the Imperials. I might not want to be like Dedra. And I certainly don't root for her side or for what she wants to accomplish, but I root for her as a person. I root for her out of the goodness of humanity, or my belief in the goodness of humanity, or my desire to believe in it. That people like this can see the error of their ways and become better people, or make better choices in the end, not too much unlike a certain Sith Lord who started out as a Jedi, not unlike Anakin Skywalker or Darth Vader, made a choice in the end after all the horrible things he had done. And though you may never get redemption entirely, you may never be entirely absolved of all your sins, again, no matter what you have done, no matter what wrongs you have done, you can still make the right choice. That's one of the things I love about Star Wars, that it is all about the choices that we make as individuals and the consequences and repercussions that come from them. And that is what you are seeing in this. So people who say this isn't Star Wars, I can get it. Aesthetically, maybe not always looks like Star Wars. Maybe it doesn't necessarily have the vibe of other Star Wars shows and movies. I get it. But at the core, at the heart of it all, this is as much Star Wars as anything else ever has been, in my opinion. This show, this series, and this episode in particular are some of the best Star Wars we have ever seen. Alright, well that is going to be all I got for you this time. That was the end of the episode. So now it is your turn to take to the comments below and tell me what you thought of this episode, this 8th episode of Andor Season 2. And tomorrow I should have Part 9 or Episode 9 up, deep diving into that one. Either way, leave your comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.